Hello, everyone. My name is Chelsea Shammy Calder, and I am your session host today. So excited to see this room packed with so many people. So thank you for your patience. This is a hot topic. Today, we are here with James Holman from SAS, and he's going to be talking about streamlining your migration to SAS Viya 4 with time-saving automation. So everyone, please help me welcome James.
Thank you. All right, so I am James Holman. I'm a senior manager at SAS in the migration division, which probably is a good thing I'm in the migration division if I'm going to talk about migration. So once upon a time, I moved to Japan. And as you might imagine, that's a real undertaking. You have to find everything that you have that you want to bring. You have to box it up. You have to see that it gets there. You have to unpack it when it gets there. And you have to see that it works when it got there. Can you hear me? Okay, so you got to pack, got to see if it gets there. Does that sound like migrating to SAS Viya? Maybe. I manage the content assessment team, and we offer a suite of applications that you see on the screen to help you understand what you have in your SAS 9 deployments. We're able to count what you have. We're able to profile your items. We're able to check your code for compatibility. And we have all these applications, and they are just fantastic for planning. And that's what I talked about last year when I was at Innovate, was planning. But there's other aspects to migration, right? There's actually executing the migration. So I thought I'd talk to you today about an execution problem with migration that I discovered. I know for a fact SAS can migrate Enterprise Guide projects to SAS Viya. We absolutely can. I also know for a fact, let me see a raise of hands, how many people have used Enterprise Guide and pointed to a library on their desktop? I know for a fact desktop paths are not going to exist in the cloud. So I have hard-coded paths I have to update. When I migrate today, I have to fix them by hand. I would imagine, since all of you are sitting here, you would like SAS to fix them for you so that you don't have to do that. So what I'm going to show you today is an early look at how we approach this problem. So it's an early approach to it, and I hope you enjoy it. Here is a very typical Windows path. C:public, CSV little star. Little star is a little star schema, but importantly to note, it's in my public directory on my PC. When I move to the cloud, my cloud administrator has come to me and says, guess what? This is the new path for little star. We're going to need to change every single C:public CSV little star reference to use our new path. How do we do that? Well, I'm going to show it to you today in two parts. Part one, we're going to prepare for this automation. We're going to identify the hard-coded paths, we're going to modify the hard-coded paths, and we're going to package up the hard-coded paths so that we can use them in Viya. The way we do this is using some of those content assessment tools I mentioned. In particular, we're going to run our inventory tool so we can find all our Enterprise Guide projects. We're going to run our profile tool to determine the migratability of our Enterprise Guide projects. We're going to run our Gather SAS Code tool to pull the SAS code out of the Enterprise Guide projects. We're going to run our code check tool to actually look at the code. Are there any hard-coded paths in that code we just pulled out? We're going to run our Modify SAS Code tool to build a mapping file that we're going to pass to Viya. And then we're going to run a tool to create a package to upload that mapping to Viya. So I'm going to demo a couple of steps here for you. Everybody see? Okay, I'm going to have to stop the presentation. Okay. Is this big enough? Can everybody see? All right. This is a content assessment installation. Content assessment is that tool I've been telling you about. And it's just got the normal content assessment applications in it. I have already run inventory. I have already run profile. So the next thing I'm going to do is run gathered SAS code. And so our gathered SAS code application will gather code from various things. Today I'm just doing enterprise guide projects. So it starts up, it validates the environment, makes sure our framework is functioning before we go any further. And once we go, I've got a directory full of enterprise guide projects. I'll be honest, I just have 2. And I pulled SAS code out of them. The SAS code ends up in a directory that I had specified, and you can see words like code.sas or taskcode.sas. We basically name the pieces of code that we find roughly from the task or, element that we found them in. Once I've done this, I'm going to code check my code. So code check is our tool that I was describing to you that will check for hard-coded paths. It will check for incompatibilities in code. It will check for security warnings. It will check for a lot of things, but we're after hard-coded paths today. When you run code check, you specify a scan tag. I'm going to call it demo since that's what we're doing. And you specify a source location. And I'm going to use that directory that we just had our SAS code put into. And code check runs for me. And it found 3 SAS files in the directory. And that is the correct number. And it has now decided what it thinks of them. The next tool I'm going to run is Modify SAS Code. Modify SAS Code requires me to specify a map, or it requires me to specify a scan tag. I did neither of those things. So if I ever need to look at the help of any of these applications, I can always run with help, and they'll show me exactly what they do. But in the case of Modify SAS Code today, I am going to generate a map, because we want to figure out what we're going to do with our hard-coded paths. I'm going to call my map demo.csv, because we're doing a demo today and it's a CSV file. And if you remember, I used a scan tag called demo. Modify SAS Code and code check work together. So when Modify SAS Code acts on something code check is scanned, it needs to know what code check scanned, and that was the demo tag. I execute that command. Note what it's telling me. It found 2 unique paths, it thinks, that need to be modified. Let's take a look at them. You can see there's that C:public little star path that I can't highlight. There's one of them, and here's the other one. So in this piece of SAS code, I use that C:public path twice. As I look at this map, I realize that this one I have highlighted at the bottom, actually, that's the prefix of the one up above it. So really, from a mapping perspective, I don't need that one. I need this one. So what I do is, I'm going to specify a new path. So I believe I said earlier it was IFS. I'm going to forget exactly what I said earlier on the previous slide, but we will hope for the best here. And I will start changing paths, changing my slashes, although we will do this for you. And that's what I want it to be. That's close enough for my example, I hope. That's what I want it to be. I save this, and all I've done so far, right, I gathered the code out of the Enterprise Guide projects, I code checked, I found 2 hard-coded path examples, I built me a map of this public path is going to this new path, and the last thing I'm going to do is package that up. So our Create SAS Expert application will create various packages for different content assessment apps. Modify SAS Code is the one we're interested in today, so we will do that. And the only thing it needs to know is what is the name of our mapping file. Well, we called that demo.csv. I run that command, and you can see it's made me that package. Notice that .SAS Expert extension. This is a new package type that Content Assessment creates, not to be confused with .spk files. We're not getting rid of .spk files. This is a package that Content Assessment creates to allow us to transfer data over to Viya. All right, let me jump back to the presentation, please. So, to recap the planning stage, we ran inventory and profile to understand the nature of our enterprise guide projects and how many we had. We ran gather SAS code to pull the SAS code out of it. We ran code check on the SAS code we pulled out of it. We ran modify SAS code to build that map, and we ran create Xfer packages to make that package. I'll pause here for a minute if there's any questions. We try really hard to get it. If you put us on the machine where that SAS code is located, we will follow the reference in the project XML and get it. The only time we can't get it if it's on a different machine. It's the same idea. In your Enterprise Guide Project XML file, there's a reference somewhere, right? And as long as we can follow that reference and resolve it, we will get the code. But I will stop questions for now in the interest of time because I still have the other half to show you. But afterwards, we can certainly talk, and then we're welcome to come by our booth if we need to. And we're halfway through, so I've been told. So on to the second half. This is what you paid your money for. Probably not, but I'm going to pretend. The automated migration of hard-coded paths is really something, to me, we've been trying to get this for a while. I can do it to SAS code all day long. I can fix hard-coded paths in SAS code. I have tools that do that. Enterprise Guide projects are harder because if I change the pathing in an Enterprise Guide project, it no longer works in SAS 9. So what we're going to do today is we're going to load that Xfer package. That's where our map is. We're going to load that. We're going to select our Enterprise Guide project to migrate. We're going to specify our mapping set. We're going to migrate the Enterprise Guide project. And we're going to open it in SAS Studio and see if it got fixed or not. All right, so what we're going to start with is we're going to go to Manage Our Environment in SAS Environment Manager. And we are going to go to the Import tab. And we have a tab here called Mapping Sets. We ship one out of the box by default, but I'm going to upload a new mapping set. I'll browse for it. And here's my mapping set that we looked at earlier that we created. I'll upload that. I'll give it a description today of Innovate Demo. You can see I've practiced a couple times. And we will import our mapping set. How many items is in the set? 1. That's what we had, right? We had a CSV file with 1 item in it. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick my Enterprise Guide project. I'm going to go with a project called import csv.egp. It does exactly what you think it does. It imports a CSV. And I'm going to go to the mapping section for it. And the first thing I have to do is I have to pick a target, right? Where do I want my flow to be created? So I'll pick my target. And I'm just going to put it in my folder for today. At this point, I can migrate if I want. But let's jump over here and look at that other tab. Something happened to my system. I lost my path. Oh, correction. My mapping set is the wrong mapping set. I was about to panic there. I'd like to say I did that on purpose so to make sure you were watching. That's what I'm going to go with if anybody asks. Okay, it was on purpose. It's easy to get confused, though. If you start loading a lot of mapping sets, do make sure you are loading the one that you want. And there's my path, right? IFS, dev, public, CSV, little star. That's what I'd like to see here. I'm going to verify everything else is good. Got my content. I'm going to my folder using my Modify SAS Code map. All right, we're going to cross our fingers and we're going to press the import button. The import button is done. We do have a warning. The warning has nothing to do with our Modify SAS code. The warning is about a process flow using a list data element. And we can't process those currently in Viya. But the important thing is I got this green bar that said the job has completed. I'm going to prove that the job has completed. I need to go and develop some code. So I'm going to open SAS Studio. And I am going to open my flow. Now notice it got created for me. It got created in my folder, and the name of it is exactly what the name used to be. Instead of .egp, it's a .flw file now. I'm going to open it. And I want to look at this element here. Well, it looks to me, from what I'm seeing, there's a gigantic comment in the code that wasn't there before. The Modify SAS code came around and it changed that original line to that. And sure enough, there it is. And then it comes back again and says, you know, I changed this one to that one. So what we were able to do with this was this code that was pointing at my public on my public drive on my machine. I migrated it to a Viya deployment, and it no longer points at my public drive. The most important thing to me about this is that single mapping entry that we changed, that one path. What if you had used this in 10 EGPs? 100 EGPs? 1,000 EGPs? If we can give you the means to, basically really drill down and only remap what you need to remap in one place, load that mapping set like we did, every EGP that imports can make use of it. So, to recap, we loaded that mapping export package into Environment Manager. We selected our Enterprise Guide project to import. We specified the mapping set. We actually imported the Enterprise Guide project. And we opened up SAS Studio to verify the pathing had changed. So if you remember, we had this problem. I said we could migrate Enterprise Guide projects. Enterprise Guide projects often have hard-coded paths. I used to have to fix them by hand, and it looks like SAS can do it for me. So we are able to take this view in Enterprise Guide that I'm sure some of you have seen, and we changed it to that. So really, from the R&D perspective, we want to build partnerships with you. Yeah, I like to write code, and I probably get paid for that and all that, but we want to work with you guys. You would be amazed at how many things we've done based on customer feedback. Because in the end, you guys are using our software. You know what you're doing with it, and you know what you need it to do in Viya. So please, let us know how we can help. There are a lot of migration presentations here at Innovate. Quite a lot of them, from various elements of, there's teaching workshops, there's various things, and there's one particular one tomorrow about modernizing the SAS Viya, and it's going to talk to you about some tips and tricks. Using some content assessment tools, using some other things, just to give you an idea of what you can do during migration. And finally, despite the name, please stop by the Data and AI Innovation booth with SAS Viya, because we're there to help you talk about migration and modernization. Do I have any other questions?
Yeah, now that SAS is still supporting EG Viya,
It does.
so it'd be a similar process?
It'd be a similar kind of thing. Integration mode of Enterprise Guide to SAS Viya. There's a booth beside the SAS 9 area, and they can talk to you about how a SAS 9 Enterprise guy can talk to Viya. In that case, it's a similar concept, but it's more about where the data is as opposed to the pathing.
Hiya. I like the analogy of moving house. It's something I did for SAS fans.
Okay. Hold on one second. Is this?
Can you hear me now?
I'll keep listening.
I like the SAS analogy of moving house earlier. I did one for if Santa was having to move house to talk about migration. In the tool, is it possible that it can create a config file of the variables so that it's easier to convert all of these hard-coded into something like a config file?
We've had some conversations about that. We've talked about doing a deeper analysis in our tools, identifying paths like that, and then, like you said, make another SAS file, set a bunch of macro variables, and let your code include them. But that requires you to change your code. So we are considering that. But I think I'm out of time. Please come by the Data and AI booth if you'd like to talk further. We would love to talk to you. Thank you for your time today.